So why don't we get started? Today I'm going to be talking about mindfulness of emotions or feelings, which is actually the second foundation of mindfulness, second or third, and how to relate from a self-compassion point of view. And I want to say a couple of things about the practice before we get started with the meditation, because people have talked to me recently about distractions while they're meditating. And where I come down on that is there are no distractions. Everything that happens is in the field of mindfulness. Mindfulness is like this field, and it's vast. And sometimes we're aware of all of it, and sometimes we're aware of a little of it. And everything that happens is in the field. You have thoughts, they come and go. They're not an interruption, they're just another thing to be aware of. You feel anger, it comes and goes. I'm going to talk a little bit about anger later. It's just something in the field that comes and goes. The point is to be aware, because this is an awareness practice. Oh, I'm having a thought. Oh, it itches where I can never reach it ever. And I'm having some. So when you notice something like that, you might want to say to yourself, this too is included in the process. This too. So I'm going to invite you to assume a meditation posture. And when I say that, we come into a posture with an awareness. So I invite you to assume a meditation posture, one in which you are aware of your body, and your body is alert but not rigid. We live our lives in large part through the awareness that comes in through our body. So be aware, I'm inviting you to be aware of the space, what it feels like, the temperature in the room. Be aware of the contact points, your feet on the floor, your hands in your lap. And to experience breathing like a doorway into the present moment. The mind may wander, but the body is always in the present moment. So just breathe in, breathe out. Your body is always here, and your breath can be a doorway into the here and now. Let's take a few slow, deep breaths, about 3/4. Noticing the sensations of breathing in, noticing the sensations of breathing out, the body breathing. And as you exhale, just start to relax. You can relax your face. Your face does a lot of work. It changes with your thoughts and feelings. The muscles contract around your jaw. So just relax your face. You might want to let your mouth just drop open a little bit. Relax your jaw muscles. And then gently close your mouth again. Just let your eyes rest back in their sockets. As you exhale, gently, without any pressure, whether you can or cannot, just relax your shoulders and soften your chest. Your breathing is just normal, in and out. You can relax your belly. Just let it hang. It's okay. Relax your diaphragm. Just being aware of the body breathing. If your mind wanders off, it's okay. You're aware of it. This too. And if it works for you, you can even just say, this too. It's part of your awareness. Everything in the field of awareness. If it helps, You can remind yourself that you are here by just softly, as you exhale, say, here. Your body is always here. Here. If you wander off in thought, it's okay. It's not an interruption. It's just part of the process. Notice, remind yourself that you are here, here. Here. Be really here. here with your body, here. Thoughts come and go. Just notice, aware of the process, not swept away. And come back to here, here. Here. Be really here. Here. In your body. In the moment. Your breath is a doorway to the now. And as we come to the end of this sitting, to be here, to be really here. Breathing in and out. Aware, just aware. Nothing is an interruption. Everything is this too. May we allow this process of meditation and opening our awareness to open our hearts with kindness and compassion to everyone we know, to everyone we don't know, radiating to our household, to our neighborhood, to our town, out into the world. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. May all beings be free. Thank you for your practice. I'm having an interesting day. I noticed a little agitation and noticed my mind go to, oh, that's not okay. And was able to meet that mindfully and decide, oh, that is okay. I'm okay. My feelings come and go. They're sort of like clouds, wispy around the edges, a little more dense in the middle, a little wispy around the edges as they pass away. They just come and go. And we can meet them as not good or bad, just as energy, which is really what they are. There tends to be this belief that there are good feelings and bad feelings. Sadness, bad. Happiness, good. Those are judgments that we tend to absorb, I think, and can lead us to believe that we are in a correct or incorrect space depending on how we're feeling. But feelings only actually have three qualities: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. That's it. Anger is not bad. I'm not being wrong because I feel anger. Sadness is pleasant, but it is unpleasant And from a mindful space, I can decide that I'm still okay, even though I'm experiencing unpleasant feelings. I feel happy. I look outside, my cat's like rolling around on the grass. That makes me happy. Makes her happy. Okay. I don't want to cling to that because feelings come and go. And if I reject the ones that are hard and cling to the ones that are easy, that's just a formula for suffering. So there's a certain art to this. And the reason why I refer to it as an art is something that you have to practice. Eric Clapton practices all day and then deprives himself of his guitar on the days that he has a performance. So it's like he's falling in love with it when he walks on stage. That's from his book, which is a good read. It's a good read if you're interested in what low bottom addiction and coming back looks like. The trick is to not meet my feelings, my emotions, with some sort of attachment or aversion. To just let them come and go, because they will, whether I like it or not. If I meet sadness with aversion, say, don't want that, that adds a layer of suffering, because now I'm creating a narrative in my head that says there's something that's wrong, but I'm just having this energetic experience in my body. If I meet joy or happiness, I'm happy for that. If I cling to that and say, I want to keep that, well, all feelings fade. And now there's an opportunity for suffering because that excitement is starting to fade. I went to India. I've been lucky enough to be able to go twice. I would go back tomorrow. Two things happen when you go to India. You either completely fall in love with it or you hate it. And I fell in love with it. When I came back, I traveled with a meditation teacher named John Travis, and we went to the 8 holy sites. I felt so at peace, yet charged up and in love with the Dharma, and sort of like one with my whole world. Even when I transitioned from like rural northern India to JFK Airport, which is a little bit of a chaotic experience. But as I moved just into my day-to-day life and that started to fade, I started to notice that I was clinging to it. And then I started to get unhappy, right? Because that expansiveness was starting to fade as I moved into my day-to-day life. Now, a part of it has never left me. You know, you go to a place like Gaya, India, and you stand directly under the tree where Buddha sat, and it'll change you. So part of that has never left. But the more I cling to that experience, the harder it got to navigate my day-to-day world. If I feel sadness, I mean, it's been a difficult year for all of us. In January, 3 people I know died of COVID. And I still had to remind myself that I was okay, I'm just grieving. Grief is a legitimate response to loss. It's part of how we know that we've loved somebody. And not to reject it. Because then, as I've talked about the second arrow, that's the second arrow when I start saying, I'm not okay, I'm bad, stupid, and wrong. Because I'm having this energetic, emotional experience. What if we do it differently? Just a non-judgmental acceptance of whatever energetic, emotional state I'm having right now. Just breathe into it. It's a crazy idea in this culture. And on the surface, it seems kind of ludicrous at first to like breathe into sadness, breathe into anger. But it's a much better paradigm, I think, than rejecting parts of ourselves to feel things that make us feel uncomfortable. It's a path to self-compassion. We can still decide that we're okay and be compassionate with ourselves if we're experiencing joy, if we're experiencing grief, or some flavor of either one of those. Because, as the Buddha said, all things are impermanent, especially states of mind. They come and go. Many years ago, probably about 30 years ago, I was at a Zen sitting, and there was a guy in the group who I knew. I was just getting ready, I was just starting the process of going back to school to get my therapist license. Some people might remember what that's like. And there was a guy I knew who was having a particularly stormy emotional experience. He was newly sober and awakening to trauma. And he asked the teacher, "What do I do with these feelings?" And the teacher gave the best answer I ever heard. He said, "Welcome them and be kind to them. Treat them as honored guests, and eventually they will leave." Welcome them, be kind to them, treat them as honored guests, and eventually they will leave. A non-judgmental awareness, a mindful awareness. Now, one way to go about that is to recognize that all feelings are a body experience. They're all somatic. We have a physical experience, and then we slap a label on it, and now it's an emotion. Right? When I feel sad, I feel it right here, like in my throat and like right above my heart chakra. If I feel angry, it feels like my shoulders are trying to fold my body in half. It's a very defensive position. And just recognize that energetically and breathe into that. And if I don't meet it with aversion and just pause and be with it, what I'll notice is it'll start to fade on its own. When my grandson was 2 years old, now he's in college, he probably doesn't remember this. When something happened that he didn't like, he'd go, "Don't want it." That was his expression, "Don't want it." "Ethan, time to go to bed." "Don't want it." So I refer to this as my inner 2-year-old. I'm having some difficult emotional experience. I go to my inner 2-year-old. "Don't want it." What if I can meet it with my adult self to the degree that I can meet it with my adult self and decide it's okay and just breathe into it? Notice the energetic experience I'm having in my belly or wherever it is. And just pause. Now, while we're talking about this, I'd like to say a couple of words about anger before we wrap up. Because anger gets a bad rap in this culture, mainly because people equate being angry with doing angry things. I have no problem with anger. I'm a fan of anger. It lets you know you're being messed with. It lets you know your boundaries are being crossed. It lets you know that what's happening is not okay with you. And that's fine. The cultural attitude towards anger can lead us to believe that we are doing something wrong when we have this feeling. It's just a feeling. And that thing I keep hearing, that you won't be punished for your anger, you'll be punished for your anger, I think that's a load of crap. You may be punished if you're you may be punishing yourself by saying, this is not okay. It's not just a feeling. I'm not supposed to have it. And the art of anger, the art of any feeling, is to experience it and not be relieved of our abilities to make good choices. I can be so angry I can bop someone upside the head. That's fine, as long as I don't bop someone upside the head. This happens every now and then. The cat left a little deposit by the door. I was meditating. I didn't notice that he was stuck in here. Anyway, I had this urge to boot him like a football. It just sort of came and went. I didn't do it. Right? Because the art of being angry is the art of feeling like doing something angry and then just maintaining a reasonable space. Then I wish that I could get him to clean it up. Of course, that's not going to happen. So I grumbled to myself a little bit and decided that I was annoyed, but still okay. And that will probably happen again. Am I going to decide I'm not okay every time I have that experience? So it's another opportunity for gentleness and kindness. It's another opportunity for self-compassion, which is what I always come back to. I was writing about that yesterday, and I really am coming to believe that self-compassion is in itself a path to awakening. If we can just shed all that negative energy that we lay on ourselves, all that disapproval, all that I'm not doing it enough, all that I shouldn't feel this way. And use compassion as a kind of faith that leads us forward. So, I invite you to be kind and gentle with yourself all the time. I invite you to experience your feelings and bow to them. I once asked my teacher, Gil Fronsdale. I was lucky enough to be in a program where I got to meet with him on a regular basis. That was pretty cool. And it was a particularly angry period in my life. And I said, what should I do with this anger? He said, bow to it. He said, not to the object of your anger. Do not take a picture of that person you're mad at and put him on your altar. He said, bow to the anger itself. So what I ended up doing is I did some research into angry Tibetan deities, and I found Mahakala and put Mahakala on my altar. So I invite you to meet yourself with compassion and gentleness, and to bow to whatever emotional experience you're having. And thank you for your practice. And thank you for listening. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Hi, Jill.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I'm turning up the volume. I can hear you now. I wish I could do that out in the real world. Have like a little volume switch that I could turn down or turn up.
I find personally for me, my experiences, young experiences and growing up, taught me not to rely on my body emotion, that this is happening, but don't trust your body. You can't trust your body. So that's particularly difficult for me, and I have to work on that. And usually it takes me getting away from a situation and then processing that. I'm never good, on my feet. It's like, gotta get away from this to
Mm-hmm.
know what's going on. So that for me is a lifelong, I believe, thing for me to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process.
Little bits,
Yep,
little bits.
yep.
I really believe it's helpful when we're faced with a big process to break it down into really small component parts,
Hmm.
little bits.
Otherwise, I get real overwhelmed and stuck if I don't and not move
Right.
unless I can. Yeah, I do that when I paint my living room. It's like I'll do this wall. I'm not going to do anything else, and I probably do the rest of it. But right then, I'll do this wall, and that's all I'm going to do.
I think the first part of this process is to decide that I'm still okay, even though this is difficult.
Mhm.
And I support removing yourself from, you know, difficult situations. I mean, I sounds like you and I grew up in similar family situations, and I had to learn about boundaries and taking care of myself.
Mhm. Yes.
Little bits, and noticing that that voice that says this isn't okay, I'm not okay,
Mhm.
and meeting that the same way you would meet a child who's struggling, with that kind of gentleness. Little bits, small steps. Gandhi was going to walk to the sea, and someone said, "It's a long way. How are we going to do that?" He said, "I'm going to put my foot over there." Little bits. Thank you. Anybody else?
I just wanted to thanks Ken for your guidance today and your talk. I just wanted to reflect on an experience that I had that was a little bit new for me that I really appreciated. Um, I really it took me quite a while to arrive today because ever since my vacation, my practice, I've been sitting every day, but it's been hard for me to refocus because I kind of got out of uh, my routine. And I really appreciated the guidance of breath as a window or as a door, as a path to the present moment. And the body will remain, the mind may wander away, but the body remains. And I kept coming back to that in my mind. And as you guided with this too, allowing this in, it maybe in the last, I'm assuming like 5 minutes, something kind of happened where I really was kind of sitting at the gateway of my mind, like my body was here and my mind would wander, but then I guess my inner eye kind of had this like warm cloud. I don't know, it could have been like the warm glow of compassion that I try to um, talk about sometimes or that I experienced, but just things would kind of come into my mind, but they would fall into this warm glow of compassion in my inner eye. And it was really, I've not experienced something like that before. And I'm not attaching to it, but I feel like it's something I can come back to.
Mm-hmm.
I very much appreciate today. So thank you.
Thank you.
And
It's a little piece of awakening when we have. Well, first off, you came back from vacation and entering the world. It's kind of disorienting. Yeah, it really is. I mean, think about coming back from like a month in India, to San Francisco International Airport, and then going like right back into my life 2 days later, feeling like I can't even feel my feet in my shoes. So yeah, of course you're a little disoriented. It's really cool that you can come to a compassionate space with that. That's a gift, and I really appreciate you sharing that.
and just separately, I did very much connect to your story about India because I also did pilgrimage back in 2016 and it just blew my mind. And then coming back, I was depressed. But it just because I missed it so much because I was attached to it. But you know, you move through it with
Yeah.
practice.
Well, that's kind of true of any emotional experience you're having. You just like move through it. It's a question of whether or not we're going to move through it like we're surrounded by silk or move through it like we're surrounded by flypaper. I stole that metaphor. You know, if you're a writer and you steal something, it's plagiarism. If you're a shrink or a Dharma teacher and you steal something, it's inspiration.
You're so inspiring, Ken.
Ken, I appreciate your talk about anger because I've been interested in fear, and one would approach it in the same way, I can imagine. That is, realize from the get go that I'm still okay, even though this is a difficult emotion or a difficult situation. And use the kindness and gentleness to self that you have used with everything else.
That expression that we will be punished by our anger comes about when we lose sight of being kind and gentle, when we're in an angry state. And it's not something the anger is doing to us, it's something that we do. So it's a good opportunity to appreciate yourself for being awake enough to know what's okay and what's not okay with you. And it comes and goes. Anger is a legitimate response to like abuse and injustice and wrongdoing and all kinds of stuff. It's an opportunity to step back, lean back, breathe, and say, oh, I'm awake. I'm having this experience. How cool is that? I feel like storming over there and screaming at that person. That's really cool, but I'm not going to do that. That's really cool too. Having grown up around people who couldn't control that and would just like follow it down the road. And having to decide, I don't want to be that guy. I still have those feelings. I just don't get
I think that's happening a lot in our city right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on 11 o'clock.